Hey everybody, C Note here. Welcome to C Note FM, soon to be DOPEamine. I haven't figured out the branding for it yet, so that's coming soon though. And that'll be pretty exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I'm working on for that, and should change the overall, well, not too much the tone of everything, but in terms of what's going on with other social media channels and stuff, there will be other things coming afoot very soon. Anyway, so today I am sharing with you the interview that I had with John Jones. He is somebody that has his own IT business in the UK. He does a lot of consulting and helping businesses to solve IT problems. And what's unique about him is he has executive function disorder, which exhibits, it's a type of ADD, and it exhibits problems with analyzing, planning, organizing, scheduling, and completing tasks. So he has a lot of tips that have helped him to stay organized and focus throughout his day. He loves what he does, so that's really easy for him, but also his partner's been vital in that, and he's got a lot of things that he utilizes with his kids as well, who are experiencing their own difficulties. So it's a really great conversation. He's a really good dude, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking. Enjoy.
Drums, please.
North, west, south, west, side, right, yeah. Now here it is.
Might as well just. This is. I kind of do it like a talk show, like we just kind of talk or whatever. So it's no big deal.
That's fine. I'm loud enough anyway, aren't I? I can be heard, or
Yeah, you're totally fine. Everything's great. So actually, I can check the audio levels while we're here. But yeah, it's most people seem to be using Zoom these days for doing like conferences and Facebook Lives and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting.
yeah, I use it as well because I do the. I'm bringing in a Windows tutoring course for people, so I'm going to be using the sort of webinar classroom feature that they've got. I've seen other people using it around, and I do like the look of it. So definitely want to be investing in that myself.
Yeah, I might be diving into that also to do some teaching or consulting or anything like that. It seems like really easy, so that's pretty rad. Now that we've now that we've gotten the Zoom non-sponsored discussion out of the way.
Yeah.
Officially welcome to the show. You're listening to myself, C Note, aka Christian Rivera, and John Jones. Welcome to the show officially. Hello.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Why don't you give everybody the spiel, who you are, what you do, and why we're talking today.
Well, I can give you the official version or the mad version.
Yeah.
But in short, I run an IT company here in the UK in a little town called Biggleswade, which is about an hour and a half by car north of London. And I've been running the company for about 5 years with my partner and my 2 children. Of course, I don't get the children involved because I don't want anyone to accuse me of child labour. But certainly, that's been running 5 years strong, and it's one of those things that I really enjoy doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But my partner has just come on board at the end of last year. Okay. I've been running it as a solo person for the last 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Day to day can get very busy. I can sometimes see myself up at 7 o'clock in the morning and not getting to bed till about 2 o'clock the next morning.
Wow.
And I start it all over again.
You must love what you do then.
Absolutely. You know, I am in my dream job because I see a lot of questions fired about where people say, would you do your job free?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is actually yes, I would.
Right.
Because I enjoy it that much. Of course, we all need money to live.
Mm-hmm.
But if money wasn't needed to live, yes, I would do it for free.
Awesome. So with the IT company, what do you specifically do? Are you providing support? Are you helping people set up networks? What specifically are you doing with them?
Okay, so my specific niche in the IT industry is what we call a managed services provider or an MSP. Now, my role, I support both businesses from the one-man band up to around 35 to 40 people is around the cap that I'm at because my business just wouldn't be able to support higher than that.
Right.
But I also help members of the public or residential customers, as I call them,
Mm-hmm.
with every day, it's broken, please come help me services.
Right.
But around the businesses, these can be a pay-as-you-go kind of system where people will approach me when they've got a problem and I will fix that problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
Or they will say, we want your support a bit longer term, and then we go into the realms of monthly payments to get some things in return that my business does for them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh,
yeah, so
go ahead. You can keep going.
yeah,
Uh,
so I've been plagued with a bit of a tickly throat today.
that's okay. Take your time.
Yeah.
No worries. I
Excuse me.
basically, like I said, I treat this like a talk show. Like we'll just
Yeah.
talk and hang out. It's not no pressure. I think a lot of people come on and they're like, "Okay, I got to be perfect and everything's gonna be great." I'm like, "It's okay. Calm down. It's fine. This is the
Nice.
show where you get to be yourself. You get to relax, drink some water. I don't know, go do jumping jacks, whatever you need to do."
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Well, I've certainly become a lot more comfortable with doing online presentation since I started doing a Tuesday live event with my kids on my own personal profile.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is the kids call it saying hello to the world.
Right.
And what happens is people on my friends list, they quite often drop in. On average, every Tuesday, I might see 7 or 8 people on my friends list come and join me. And it's a very simple thing where people come in, I announce who's joined the room, and the children will say hello to them, and they'll probably blow kisses and wave at them. And it's almost like a childish banter between kids. And it's really enjoyable. The children look forward to it every Tuesday. In fact,
That's
they get asked
awesome.
every night, "Is it hello to the world night?" And I say, "No, it's next week. You only did it last night, darling." So my kids get super excited when it comes around to a Tuesday to do that.
That's a great way to integrate the kids into what you're doing and just make it something fun. It doesn't have to be anything that's businessy, but it's good exposure for you as a person and your
Yeah,
business.
absolutely.
But it's fun for the kids, which is great, and it creates traditions, which is nice. It's good for
Mm.
kids to have that.
Yeah, so I mean, my kids thrive on routine.
Mm-hmm.
Because we tend to everything in the house is routine about being fun. So
Mm-hmm.
we do have a structured household, but the structure generally involves fun activities.
Right.
So where some households, dinner is at 5, this is at 6, that is at 7.
Right.
Generally, we'll have bedtime is at 7, but at 1:45, it's get ready for bed and have a book.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's 4:30, we do XYZ with the kids. And these are generally things we do every day. It's not just as and when we feel like it. Because without the routine, my children would not function very well because it's something that they're going to need growing up
Mm-hmm.
is routine and structure. And I'm a great believer of this. I was brought up in a similar sense that routine and structure is an absolutely vital tool to have in life, and to start children early gets them set up for life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of adults that struggle with that, myself included, keeping any kind of discipline and structure and knowing how to manage your time, because time is something that is consistent, it's flowing, and you get distracted easily, and it's you go into a place where you start just like scrolling Facebook, or you start playing with toys or doing something, whatever the child equivalent is of scrolling Facebook. and
Oh yes.
and before you know it, time has passed, and you're not able to do the things that you can do to take care of yourself, even as kids, but as adults as well. And I'm sure that's been helpful for you growing up and in your business.
Well, it certainly, I do have my own challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and whilst I've got into my children's routines,
Mm-hmm.
the, it's almost a case of I am no good at following my own advice. So
Right.
while my children have structure, I'm probably the polar opposite.
That's funny.
So yeah, I would say that I do personally struggle with structure,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that I've always lived with is failure to follow routine.
Mm-hmm.
It normally revolves around memory retention, especially names. Names is the one thing that I cannot get correct.
Mm-hmm.
I could be talking to somebody for 10 minutes, go away for 5 minutes to do something, come back, and I'll call them something completely different. Haven't done it to my partner yet.
Oh, that's
I'm
good.
lucky. But I think I know I would be out of my ear if I called her something I didn't want to.
Yeah, that'd be a problem. But at least you have like a reason now.
Yes, absolutely. It's whether she'd believe me as a reason. I've got it right so far, and it would be one of those. Well, if you've done it right so far, why start now? But no, my partner's very understanding for a lot of things that I do in life, and certainly if I was to get a name wrong, I think it would just be a sigh and a hands on the hips and a
Right.
finger wag.
Right. So you mentioned to me briefly in our early conversations about ADHD and EFD. Is that something that's been officially diagnosed with you, or is that something that is just kind of something that you identify with because of? If you've been dying to start that podcast about doves, or about your favorite jacket, or about a long-lost love, or a murder mystery about a cat who murdered everybody, you can start it now on Spotify for podcasters. I've been on Anchor for a long time, and now it is officially Spotify for podcasters, and it has been a platform that has been growing for forever. And I love it, and I still use it to this day, and it has hosted this podcast for 500 plus episodes now. So I highly recommend it. It is free to use. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. I'm literally on my bed recording on my, the phone is on the bed, and I'm just talking, and it's not that complicated. And then you can distribute your podcast on Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are heard. So video podcasts are available too if you want to show your pretty face and have people see you. And you can do all that too. So just do it. It's totally free, no catch. Give it a try. Spotify for podcasters. Let's go.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Your poor memory retention or inability to focus or anything like that.
Okay, so the EFD, the executive dysfunction or function disorder, it's an official diagnosis. So I have gone to the local mental health team who have psychologists and psychiatrists within the premises to diagnose these. But of course, this has only been a recent diagnosis over the last few months. But it's been a very overwhelming change in life. Doesn't change me as a person, but the clarity of every experience that I've had in life, previous employments, school, relationships, all suddenly fall into place.
I know that feeling.
Your life has not been the way you wanted it to be because you wish you could redo it in having the new knowledge.
Right.
But I would never change anything about myself because I've always felt that being me is exactly why people want to know me. If I was to change that, I fear that I would lose my social circles and my relationships with people because I wouldn't be me.
Right. Do you feel that's been changing the way that you're approaching, day-to-day life or your business, or how you're approaching new social situations now with the new information that you have?
Absolutely. I'm an absolute nightmare for interruption. So when people speak and I think there's a pause in the conversation, I will try to begin to speak, but then I very
Mhm.
quickly retract because I realize the conversation hasn't stopped yet.
Right.
Now I listen a bit more intently till people look at me, as well as if there's something that I have to say. So before I forget it, is quite a common thing that I will now say to people, which beforehand I would just come out with it. But
Mhm.
now I can actually confidently say to someone, oh, before I forget, remind me to,
Right.
was something that I never used to do. It was, I've got to tell you now, or I will never tell you because I will forget in the next 10 seconds.
Right.
So a lot less people find me very rude or abrupt because I now have that understanding myself, and I can help others by understanding why I do the things the way that I do them.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's perfect. That is exactly the type of story that I try to bring out in this podcast, because I've gone through a very similar journey, but with cyclothymia, which is a mood disorder.
Mm.
It is a low grade bipolar disorder that affects my moods. So I can go from a depressive state to a manic state in a matter of hours or days, or stay that way for months at a time. Um, and it has affected my life, the way that I've approached people, social situations, some substance abuse with drinking in my past, and things like that. But because I know that now, and because I'm aware of who I am, I can qualify those things to other people while I'm having those discussions. Like you said, you're asking them to remind you of something or to reiterate something. That's amazing. That's
Mm.
perfect. That's a good way of managing who you are, and not necessarily, falling into this pit of like, I wish I was different, but actually owning who you are.
Yes, and in the last few months, it's certainly been a life-changing process over
Hmm.
the last few months of setting myself up and positioning myself to be understood, because I found that people didn't understand me. It would frustrate me, I would get upset, and nobody would win. Now it's the here I am, this is how I am, this is
Hmm.
how I do things. Um, if this doesn't work with you, it's going to have to work this way,
Hmm.
not because I'm arrogant, not because you don't get a say, but this is going to get the best response and relationship for the both of us.
Right.
And that's normally the way that, in a bit longer statement, with people, to help them understand me, so that if I do something that people don't like,
Hmm.
it gives them the confidence to say to me, John, you've just done that, and I really don't think that was appropriate.
Right.
And I take it better because they're aware that I may not do things as people would want to see things happen,
Hmm.
like interrupting people when they speak.
Hmm.
My partner specifically will be mid conversation and I may interrupt her. But what she's learned to do is, instead of trying to stop me, she will listen,
Hmm.
and then she'll retain that knowledge, go back to the original conversation, then come back to my conversation, and I will take that better than just, you've interrupted me, that's very rude.
Hmm.
And that's the challenges I see a lot now, where, in understanding my own situation, you begin to see it in other people's situations, where people may not necessarily realize they've done something,
Right.
might upset somebody,
Hmm.
but then I can deal with that better knowing the things that I do.
Right.
So if I'm in mid conversation and someone interrupts me, used to really irritate me.
Hmm.
However, now when someone interrupts me, I say to them, okay, noted, we'll come back to you in a second. Let me just very quickly get out what I've got to say, and let's come back to your conversation.
Right.
I've acknowledged that person. They're happy that I've acknowledged them, and they're happy that I will help them come back to their conversation. Whether I remember to or not is a very different story, but
right.
you know, because I now hope people do that to me, it helps me remember to help other people in that particular situation.
Yeah, it sounds like really good communication tactics that I wish the average person would employ. You sort of learn about who you are, and in your case, it's more of an extreme case where you can diagnose it. But there are plenty of people who have issues with what they find rude or appropriate, and they don't define those things because not only do they have situations where they maybe it may have been diagnosed with something, but it could simply be the way that they were raised, and they could be more prone to interrupting people or not interrupting people, or find certain things rude that other people might not find rude. So it would be interesting to find ways to share those qualifiers with people before we have those conversations, especially if it's something extreme. And in your case, I'm not saying it's extreme, but it's enough to be diagnosed. And in your case, I would ask, when dealing with new clients, when working with new clients, I should say, how do you convey that to your clients? Is that like part of the first conversation? Do you have sort of a list of notes that you go through with them and say, this is who I am, this is how I communicate, I would love to be able to work with you, but in order to serve you the best that I can, I have to get my entire point across, and then we can talk and basically compartmentalize our conversation one at a time, take notes and follow up later. How do you approach communicating that to them?
It's a very good question. It's since fully understanding my new way of life, it's also helped with my approach to conversations. So when I speak to a new client, I now go in with the mindset that I'm not doing the talking. It's them that has to be doing the talking.
Right.
I can ask questions, but I'm not there to relay information unless I'm asked. So I've learned that a question is now my cue to speak.
Right.
Rather than trying to jump in mid-conversation, it's now a case of someone might say to me, so what kind of computers can I buy? Once they've said that, I can then come in with the information that I've got. But the other challenge to that is not only answering the question. I used to try and give people an entire encyclopedia with the response. So it wouldn't just be short, sharp, and to the point. It would be virtually an entire in-depth conversation, something that might just need to be, yeah, we sell powerful computers. Some people might just need that as a response. Whereas I would go into the meat and bones, I'd get overly technical, I would try to explain everything because that was what was in my brain at the time. Now, with the help of a lot of different communities online, I've now learned that instead of explaining the in and outs of a computer, I just call it a computer. The computer you want does this, that, and another thing. If they want to know more information, they will then ask more questions. But the challenging part, though, is make sure that I don't leave the answer in such a vague response that it just sounds like I'm not interested. That's the difficulties that I have, is where I seem too interested. I've now got to the point where sometimes I may seem uninterested because I'm holding back a lot of the information that I think is relevant. So gauging my my new client is the biggest challenge that I have at the moment, is fully understanding what they want from me as information, not what I want to give them.
Right. And where did you pick up these tactics? Did you have to go to therapy? Did you talk to a doctor? Did you do your own research? Particularly the point where you're waiting for a question so that you can answer it. Where did you learn these tactics?
Okay, well, there's two sources, and the first and primary source for me is actually my partner.
Mm-hmm.
Both our children, one's age 4 and one is 8 next month. Now, the 8-year-old is diagnosed with dyspraxia. He has got autism and ADHD as a full diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they believe dyslexia may be on the cards as well. And my 4-year-old is currently under a scheme called early intervention, which means that she's under close observation by various medical organizations for physical and mental skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
But my partner decided to embrace this, and she began to go on courses and modules and workshops to help better understand children with learning difficulties. Now, she brought me along to one of these so that I could better understand myself. Ironically, by attending one of these workshops actually originally started me off on my own journey with EFD, because the modules themselves actually highlighted a lot of personality and manners that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I began my own journey to see if there was anything that I needed to learn about myself. But going back to my partner, she's been on all these various workshops, and by understanding childhood learning disorders and sort of learning difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
she can actually begin to put these processes in place for me too. So it's not just the children that she's helping, she's also helping me as a person.
Right.
And by picking up on things that I do now, she can give me the best guidance. Sometimes it may take 4 or 5 attempts for me to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
But because she now has this knowledge, she's a lot more understanding of it.
Right.
So my partner is going to be the first and foremost to say, that's too much information, that's not enough information, or the conversation wasn't over.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of go through things of picking up where and how and why to do things.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself has been absolutely integral to my relationships with both new and existing clients.
Right.
The second source is I'm part of an online community for client relationships on Facebook, where I do ask a lot of questions. I absolutely hammer with the questions, and the organizers of that group have been absolutely integral in helping me in areas that my partner can't, because my partner isn't sales based. She's a customer service person, but she's certainly not sales based.
Right.
But this Facebook community group, they are from a sales environment. They've got a sales history and a customer relation history, and they're very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And by me approaching them and being very honest with the problems that I have in my approach to new clients, they've been able to help me by giving me the right advice, rather than avoiding, I don't want to make myself sound bad. So rather than saying, I'm going to avoid this because I don't want to sound bad, I say, here it is in its naked entirety.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I did. Whether it's right or wrong, this is exactly what I did.
Right.
And they can begin to understand where I went wrong and give me the advice around that. And that is probably my biggest trait, is honesty, even to the point where I can be brutally honest with people.
Right.
And that is generally, it can be my downfall, because my brutal honesty can upset people if I'm not careful, especially if I'm having a bit of an off day and someone will ask me something. It will be a very short, sharp response of, It could be something simple as, is that an apple? Well, of course it's an apple. What else do you think it is?
Right.
And that might offend people, but my partner would understand that that's just a response. It's not aimed at her. It's not aimed at the apple. It's not aimed at anybody. That is a generic response.
Right.
But for people who don't know me, that would come across as very arrogant.
Right.
These are the kind of things that I've had to learn not to do, especially when dealing with new clients as well. So it certainly has been a journey. I will give it that one.
Yeah, that sounds like there's a lot of sensitivities, especially dealing with clients, that you have to consider, and it's quite the epic journey. I mean, it sounds like your partner is your rock. Like, she's really great at being patient with you and helping you, and really genuinely being a partner to you, and that sounds amazing. Definitely something to talk more about as we go along. But I wanted to ask quickly, how important is it to you that the other person, in our case, we're having this conversation, I'm asking you questions, how important is it for you to have the other person acknowledge you throughout the conversation? You know, I'll stop and go, uh-huh, or right, or something like that, to just kind of signal to you that you can keep going. How important is that to you, or are you just going to finish your thought no matter what?
I can go on and on and on like a broken record. So I almost self-entertain myself while I speak, and don't listen out for the cues. So it's almost as if I turn off any kind of audible acknowledgement from anyone else till I'm finished.
Okay. That's interesting. And I'm sure it's good when you're doing like any kind of video stuff, or you're actually explaining something, because you keep your train of thought that way. I have to write things down, because my memory is not that great either, not in that kind of way, but it's definitely not good. So I write down plenty of things while you're speaking, because I am not going to remember them. I just know that I won't. Do you use any kind of other tactics like that? Do you write things down while someone else is speaking? Do you have problems concentrating on someone else speaking, so you have to write things down or take notes or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Eye contact is a big block for me. I can't maintain eye contact probably for more than a few seconds. But what I do is, especially with new clients, I bring pen and paper. I do not go digital when I meet new clients. It's got to be pen and paper.
Okay.
Because I will begin to write down things in front of them. And what this does is it breaks the need for eye contact. And they can see that I'm paying attention by writing,
right,
without actually having eye contact with them. But the other side to it is, it gives me the opportunity that if I'm not writing anything down and they want to talk and have eye contact, I can actually use the written content as a means of breaking eye contact.
Right.
They could be saying something to me, I'll look down and I'll nod while I'm looking at the words on the paper.
Right.
I'm not actually reading the paper. I'm just using it as a means of breaking that uncomfortableness from my side.
Right.
And I've done this for a very long time now, even before any kind of diagnosis. This is something that I've self-taught myself to do.
Right.
So that anyone with, if anyone is overly confident, it's my way of keeping them at a distance, so they don't get overconfident with me when I'm not comfortable with the eye contact. And that's how I get around the barrier of eye contact with people, is to continuously break the eye contact, but in a productive and responsive manner, so they can actually see what I'm doing.
I've done that sometimes too, and it also seems to slow people down a little bit while you're writing. They'll see that you're writing, and they will slow down or try to simplify what they're saying, because they know that you're taking notes. I think it's a really good tactic in general for a lot of people who are, especially introverts or people who are not comfortable with eye contact, which goes beyond anyone who has just EFD. It's a big problem that people have in in client relations. You know, they have meetings, and I think it's a really good tactic just to write things down. That's a good idea. You have a lot of really good ideas. You should really encapsulate all these things
Yeah.
into something.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I went ahead and did it there. I
No.
jumped right in the middle of the conversation.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. I did want to go into sort of business, sort of helping people start businesses by giving them ideas and advice on how to do so. But I unfortunately would suffer from the shiny object syndrome by seeing lots of new toys and then forget what I was doing previously, and my business would probably go to pot.
Right.
And that's a terrible habit of mine. But certainly, I used to want to mentor people to get into business, how to give them advice. But I do help new businesses in my area. Just recently, there's been another competitor started up, another IT company.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, hey, I'm interested in meeting up for coffee. You know, I want to get to know you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
You may be my competitor, but it doesn't mean to say we can't collaborate in other areas.
Right.
And that has turned into a good business relationship. Yes, we compete for the same business, but it means that we can ask each other questions that we lack in ourselves.
Right.
And that is the way that I see it. I don't have competitors, just people that don't necessarily agree with the way I do things.
Right.
But the way that I see it, though, is unless someone confirms to me they are genuinely 100% not interested in me as a person,
Mm-hmm.
then I try to build a relationship with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a friendship, whether it's a business relationship, not another, interpersonal relationship, because one is certainly enough.
Right.
One man band in that sense.
Right. Right.
One woman man. Yeah, that's what I am. But certainly, I like to help everybody, but then I'm very sort of person that if someone's honest with me to say, John, you're not my cup of tea, I'll shake the hand. I'll say thank you for being honest, and good luck with whatever is in your future. I don't hold malice.
Right.
I've gone through life and I don't hold grudges for people.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's honest with me about me as a person, that's fine.
Right.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and
Of course.
I'm not someone's cup of tea. I would rather know where I stand with someone than try to guess something that I might get very wrong.
Right. I think that honesty and communication is important for everyone to employ, and to be able to have your own boundaries so that, like your partner would stop you if you're saying something inappropriate, and it's up to you to not take offense to that and be able to take that as positive criticism, which I think is amazing. And I think a lot more people could employ. I think there's a lot of great tactics within this podcast that a lot of people can use in their own life, from eye contact to better communication with your partner, regardless of whether you're dealing with something as similar to EFD or anything else in your life. Those tactics are important. And I'm going to have to wrap up here because I don't know. I know Zoom has a limit with its free version, and I don't want to get randomly cut off.
It's a shame because I could have sent you a link from mine and then sent you the audio.
No, that's totally fine. We'll do that next time. I think this is a good opportunity to introduce people to you and who you are. And I think you have you have a good head on your shoulders. You're a respectful man. You've got a great partner. Your kids sound great. And I think you're doing well in life, and your self-awareness and your ability to adjust to the situation that you're in and not necessarily just throw your hands up and give up is a true testament to how anyone dealing with any kind of mental mental illness or difficulty can persevere with a good mindset. So with that, if you wanted to kind of give anyone a link to your website or where they can find you.
Yes. So the easiest way to find me is to go to Google and search for Dr. Jones PC Support. It's the easiest way to find me as a business.
Okay.
The same with Facebook. If you search for Dr. Jones PC Support on Facebook, you will find my business. And of course, I'm everywhere. So if you want to connect with me directly, you are more than welcome to. I promote people to approach me rather than approach me as a business.
Right.
Because I think it generates and creates a more substantial relationship rather than interacting with just the brand.
Right. And I think you're a good man. You're a good person. You've got a good head on your shoulders. I think it would be a pleasure for anyone to speak to you. So with that, it's been a pleasure for me. I hope you'll have a good day, and we'll chat again some other time.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to C-Note FM. I hope it makes you want to take over the world or go, I don't know, flip a car or something positive like that. If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and give it a good rating and all that good stuff, and share with your friends, and let me know how you felt about it. Go to howmynameIsChristian.com to find out more about me and what I do, and I'll talk to you and see you next time.